Hello, everyone. It is Friday. It has been a minute, but we are back. We are live. It is time for our Friday stream. Hope you all are doing well. Hope you can hear me okay. I'm just going to get the chat pulled into our stream here and hope that... Oh, why is my connection speed garbage? Okay, it's better. Hopefully that's not going to maintain being a thing. We will see. Alrighty. Alrighty, there we go. Yes, hi everyone. Yes, Bandita is here. She perked up just in time for the live stream. She was like laying over on her belly, and now she's like facing towards the camera a little bit more. Let's actually move this a little bit. There we go. Alrighty. Yes, I am loud and I'm clear and I'm healthy. I do not have any sort of illnesses. It is not a convention weekend. I am here. Things are normal. Yes. Okay. Yes, I am also happy to be back here. It has been a minute. Oh, found another example of a man smearing the goodness of BDSM and used 50 Shades as something leading to a tragic end. Oh. Well, you can't, linking to things in the chat and YouTube will probably get it removed, but if you want to send me like a headline title or like if this is like, this sounds like it's a legal case, but if you want to give me details of something I should look up, I can't promise I'm going to make a video about it, but I always like to know when, you know, there's a New York Post article or something that's like, BDSM gone wrong, you know, woman murdered in barn by Tinder date. Like, you know, I want to at least be aware if stuff like that is making headlines somewhere for sure. Oh yes, it is Thrive this weekend. There is I'm not really gonna do it this year, I don't think. Especially because I have so much I need to catch up on from like the convention weekend and being sick and everything. But there is currently a free online BDSM convention happening called Thrive, and I believe the website actually it's my stream. I can just link it in the chat if I want to. I think it's Thrive Virtual Con. Yes, thrivevirtualcon.com. And it's a little online conference that you can attend for free where there's lots of conversations and classes about various mental health and neurodivergence topics and the intersections with BDSM. So I like to recommend that one because it is free and because I know there can be a real lack of both conversations and support around just anything related to well-being in BDSM, be it mental health stuff, chronic conditions, chronic pain, neurodivergence. It can be hard to find resources for that, and this is like one really good way to do that. They've been doing it for a couple years now. It's a fun time, and yeah, check it out if you want to. I don't know if you'd be able, if you didn't already sign up and register. I don't know if you can register at this point because the event has started, if you would get like the links to be able to go to classes. But, you know, if you're like, oh my gosh, I really want to try to go, you know, why not? Why not at least give it a shot, right? Oh, no worries, Sean. I appreciate it, though. Good evening, Lexi. Hope you are doing well. Okay, so before I get too far into it, welcome back to the stream. We have not been here for a while, so I'm just going to do our brief little intro here. So this is an interactive Q&A live stream where you all ask me questions and I answer them. And sometimes we go on rambly, off-topic conversations. I usually give a couple of suggestions of things that we could talk about in the title of the live stream. But generally speaking is whatever y'all want to talk about within the rules listed down below, which you should check out. They're very easy to remember. Basically, don't spam the chat, listen to the mods, be nice, And don't ask me overly personal questions. There are a couple of topics that I'm not super equipped to get into because I am not an expert, and mostly that's about medical and mental health stuff. I cannot tell you whether or not it's safe to do BDSM with a condition that you have. I cannot tell you if you should go to the emergency room. You're gonna have to get actual professional help for those things, I am sorry to say, and I cannot be the one to provide that information. So that is what you need to know on that. The chat and this live stream is 18 plus only, so please, if you are not at least 18, please do not be here. That is for your safety, my safety, everyone's safety, because mixing minors and adults in kink spaces is a bad idea, and we do not encourage that here. We also would just generally like to remind you that we have YouTube memberships for a whopping 99 cents if you'd like to get access to emotes in the chat, and also have a badge next to your name. They are very cute, little Pomeranians, just like this little sweet girl right here. And you can just donate if you feel like it. And essentially the reason I have memberships is because it is the only way to have emotes, and I really wanted to have emotes for my chat. So if you'd like to use them, you can do that. No pressure. You can also try to opt into potentially getting gift memberships if you would like to do so. Otherwise, you can also use a super chat, and it will highlight your question up and around this area. And then if it's over a certain dollar amount, it'll read it out for you out loud, and then I will answer your question right away. Otherwise, we go in the order that questions come in. Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay. I can already see some funny stuff going on in the chat, so we're just going to go ahead and get right into it. I know we have not been able to live stream for a minute, so I want to make sure we can get to as many topics of conversation as possible. I'm actually going to link, I don't normally do this for these streams, but why not? I should. Oh, Lexi became a member. Welcome back, Lexi. Thank you so much. I'm going to link to the live stream. I am trying not to spend as much time on Twitter. I really don't go on here very often, just because it's not good for me, and it is. I have opinions of. It's kind of becoming like FetLife. I don't know if that resonates with people. I'll get into that once I get into this from Psycho Salad. Ooh, I'm negotiating my first femdom session next week. She has already given me, several private lap dances at a pole dancing karaoke event. I have a list of questions for her when we meet to talk about it. Oh, okay. I don't know if there is a question associated with that. If you just let me know what's going on, in which case I appreciate the update. That is exciting stuff. Good for you. That is something that I'm looking forward to hearing about. Hopefully it goes well. And congratulations. That is, I know it's going to be so hard, especially if you are masculine or male submissive. It can be so hard to find female dominant people that are available and are decent human beings and not bots. So good luck. I wish you the best. All right, let's talk about briefly, because maybe people will understand what I'm talking about. I haven't moved to Blue Sky because I don't want to have another social media platform. If I'm going down with the ship of Twitter, I don't want to have to also be on Blue Sky. Having more social media accounts, even on a better website, is not good for my brain. So I am not joining Blue Sky. Then I just have to see more bullshit on a different platform. I've decided to give up. Oh, it got censored. I don't know what that word is. After some introspection, found out that I just don't find it that enjoyable, and most of my desire to do it was from my fantasy of what a male sub is supposed to do. Oh. Well, you have to let me know. Now I don't know what the blank word is. You're going to have to just put it in the regular chat so I can piece things together here. I don't know what word that would have been that the super chat would have censored. That's very odd. But in general, I will say, regardless, good for you for deciding to realize that it was something that wasn't working for you and it's not true to who you are. And it can be so difficult to untangle what is an authentic desire that you have for yourself and what's something that you think you need to do because of the way you want to present yourself as a submissive or dominant or like a power bottom or a heavy masochist or what have you, and choosing to let go of those things when we feel like they must be really important to other people. It can be a journey for sure. Oh, okay, get it to say anal. Oh dear. Well, I can understand why that would be blocked. I can understand why that would by default be blocked in a super chat service. So, okay. You know what? Hey, if that's not your thing, it's not your thing. And that's like, some people are really into it and some people aren't. And I definitely have known a few people that have given it the old college try, as they say. And despite the fact that P-spotting, let's say, is widely regarded as an enjoyable activity for people who have prostates, it is certainly not for everybody. And nor does that mean that even if that stimulation might feel good, does that mean you have to want to engage in anal play. And I have some other thoughts in general about, I think there's sort of been this weird pairing of things that have gone together, I think, socially around sex, that I'm not really sure if this is a massive problem, but I think it is something to be aware of, is especially in community spaces and subcultures where sex positivity is a really big thing, as it is in the kink community or polyamory or certain segments of feminist circles. There is a tendency for promotion of exploration of sexuality to turn into, if you are a free-spirited, open-minded, non-judgmental, non-frigid, non-puritanical individual, you surely will be open to exploring and enjoy, all of these constellation of activities. And the only reason why people aren't into, giving or receiving oral or anal stimulation or sex toys or whatever, pelvic floor exercises, I don't know, whatever it is, there's a pairing of being into those things with being a sex positive person or being a sexually open person, to the point where now I feel like there's a lot more pressure and expectations for a lot of people, even from quite a young age, to only be open to traditional PIV intercourse, but also into anal and oral and sex toys and all these things that did not used to be an expectation. And I'm like, well, it's good that we know those things are options, but is it necessarily a positive thing that that's a default expectation? Because I know people, especially older, I've mentioned this a couple times before, but I know people that are older than me, 40, 45 plus, who, as they went from being, 20 years old and being married, now being divorced and getting back into the dating market, that things are so different now, where it's they only really like PIV. That's the only thing they're really looking for sexually. But then when they go try to date people, now they have these expectations, especially if they're dating in sex positive, polyamorous, and the kink spaces, where of course you're going to be into all these other things too. And it's people can just be individuals, and only liking or not liking certain types of sexual activities doesn't mean somebody's sex positive or not, or that they haven't worked through their Christian upbringing or something like that. I just find that really frustrating, because it's let's not police people's sexual enjoyment. Let's just let people live outside of stereotypes, please, is my thing. Yeah, frigid, I haven't heard that word since high school. I like to use that word specifically in this context. I don't know why, it has sort of a clinical ring to it that I feel works to get across the idea of the kind of because that is ultimately what people are accusing you of, if they're why are you open to this, that, and the other thing? What they're ultimately accusing you of is being sexually closed off. And honestly, thanks to Legally Blonde, it's forever imprinted into my brain. Oh, thank you. Not a question. Just wanted to thank you for your ACE content. It has helped me a lot with figuring myself out. You are very welcome. I appreciate it, and I'm glad that you enjoy it, because I know that there is not a lot of ACE content on the internet, especially that's not coming from a perspective like mine. So I'm happy to share it for sure. That's crazy. I had to gradually unlock all those sex activities over 20 years. Unlocking secret characters. That's great. I mean, even I remember being in high school and like being like 15, and like my first serious boyfriend when I was 15 years old wanted to do anal. Like, you know, it wasn't like, you know, I don't know if that was like a one-off thing. I don't know how I wasn't dating multiple people at once, so I don't know if that's like a representative, you know, survey of, you know, teenage boys in, you know, was that 2008. So, you know, I'm not sure what state of that was, but even like then, right, there was, you know, still this like, oh, we could always just do this, right? And I don't know where they picked it up from. I don't know. All I can tell you, it wasn't until I was well into adulthood before I found a person with a penis who like knew the background of what it took to actually do anal. that came much later. Legally Blonde is definitely, I don't know if it's my favorite movie, but it's like a top, just like, if I don't know what else to watch, but I want to have a movie on that's like kind of, you know, relaxing, and I don't have to like, I'm not like invested in having to watch every moment of the plot. I just want to have something on that's like nice but engrossing, more so than like a YouTube video would be. Legally Blonde's definitely up there for sure. I know, I was just only expecting someone with whom I could, oh, okay, sorry, I thought that was a fault to the next thing, but it's not. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't know. I would love to, I'm sure that somebody out there has done that. Well, actually, no. There's a long unrunning, I don't know, who knows if this is going to still be around, but there's a long unrunning series of surveys that they give to, I think it's American high school students, to track. Usually it's like, you know, sexual and high risk behavior. So it's also things like drug use too. It's not just sex. And I imagine that actually would give some insight into, you know, I think my understanding is age of first intercourse is going up, but the breadth of sexual activities that younger people are doing is more expansive than it was on average, like 25 years ago, 50 years ago. I have seen bits and pieces of Legally Blonde musical, but I've never actually like sat down and like watched it before. Yeah. The only time people get into the prep work for it is if there's like a fetish site and they're like, you know, part of the fetish is like the whole preparation behind anal. Yeah. People just go, oh, well, but the thing that I watched, they just stick it in and then that's, you know, duh. They don't realize the mechanics of that. That's why, honestly, that's a big reason why I do what I do now is for me, you know, we've talked before in other videos about how I got into, you know, the world of adult human sexuality. Oh, okay. Question here from Cupcake. My boyfriend wants me to top/peg him. I want it as well. He's very vanilla, and I feel so guilty for my desires. He was a virgin when we started dating, and I wasn't. Oh. I guess okay, so he wants you to top/peg him, but he's vanilla otherwise, and you feel guilty about your desires. Okay, so there's like, I would love it if you give me some more background information. Don't do another super chat, just like put it in a regular chat and I'll find it. So it sounds like you have desires to go beyond pegging. He doesn't, as far as you know. And now that you have started to have sex, you want to like add pegging into it. And I'm not entirely sure what the question is. I think the question is, one, how do I deal with the guilt about my desires? And two, how can we get into pegging? Is that, do I have it correct? I will wait for a follow-up on that. And then, because it's a good question. It's, you know, there's a lot going on there. I will wait for that. And what the heck was I talking about before that? I don't remember. Probably just something about human sexuality and surveys related to it and how they change over time. I have not seen the Queer Collective's videos. I don't know what that is. I mean, maybe I've stumbled across them and I just like didn't click on them. I don't know. It is a possibility. All right. So I'm going to, for that question, there's sort of two parts to it. I'm going to handle the like neighbor with the motorcycle was doing bullshit again. Okay. Topping pegging question. I don't do pegging. I don't give pegging to other people. So take my advice here with a grain of salt. My general advice for getting into that is definitely talk about it ahead of time. I think it's really important to identify the emotions and the motivations behind pegging, and with any sexual activity, really any kink thing too. Why do they want to do it? What kind of experience they're looking to have, right? Do they want to be like sexually dominated and be humiliated during the experience? Do they want to feel really like small and weak and like it's like a power thing? Or is it, I'm curious about, the kind of pleasure I might be able to receive from like my prostate, and I trust you and I love you. So exploring this vulnerable thing, I don't necessarily want it to be a power thing, but it is a vulnerable thing with a part of my body. And I feel okay with you like playing around with that, right? And anything, beyond that spectrum, right? It could be like a masochistic thing. It could be, wanting you to get to explore something that's like non-traditional, like there could be a lot of reasons for it. So understanding the motivations, making sure you're on the same page about it so you can cultivate the correct experience is going to make a big difference, because of what they want is like dommy mommy humiliation. And then you think it's like, oh, we're just going to be like how we normally otherwise are, except for like with this new tool added in, you're going to have a pretty different experience of it. All right. See you, Sean. Thanks for stopping in. Take pride in corrupting the innocence. LOL, for real, don't feel guilty of sharing an experience that someone is asking for. Yeah, I think this thing too is if you're nervous about like, oh, this person's a virgin or they were recently a virgin, I know they want to do these things with me. I'm worried about going too fast. First of all, go at the pace you're comfortable with. Don't feel pressured to like go quickly into these things. You can take a really long time, like weeks or months, like talking about something, working up to an experience. Like I know that some people are very used to like, first, second, third date, they've like done all the sexual things already. And then they just sort of like hit a stride of like establishing what their sexual repertoire is. Other people, like they slowly build up over like a long part of the relationship, because getting into something new typically requires more conversation, right? So what that might mean is, okay, we're going to talk about the motivations behind it. We're going to talk about like what it looks like, what we want our first experience to be. Like, how do you picture this going? Then you can get into, okay, before we do this, these are like the prep things you're going to do to like get ready for this experience, right? So this could be like wearing butt plugs. This could be like watching videos on how to do, anal stimulation. This could be exploring with fingers first. I think that's something that I enjoy, but I know other people like it, especially if you have a prostate that can be stimulated. Get some good gloves, some nitrile gloves. You can do some anal exploration just using fingers that can feel like more personal and easier to control than like a full-on strap can be. And then you slowly work up to getting to the point where we're actually going to do a pegging scene. Traditionally, pegging involves like wearing a strap and using a dildo on somebody. You could also use it handheld as well. Just make sure it has a flared base. If you feel like that might be a better experience, or like wearing a strap on is like not something that you want to be doing. Also this, we're in an age gap relationship. I think he wants it to develop into a power play, but for now he does love butt stuff. Good for him. I just don't want to go too fast and scare him. He's very subservient in daily life. Okay, sure. Yeah. Well, cool. Guy that we know he likes butt stuff. I think it's totally fair. You don't want to go too fast. I think, especially if it wants to be a power play thing, like, if you're going to be the one in control, that also means that he has to be willing to exercise some patience and let you be the one to dictate the pace. Because if the bottom is going now, do me, like, does that really cultivate a power exchange in the direction we want it to go? Like, not typically. So, I would say work yourself up, use fingers, use anal plugs, and then eventually you feel you are ready to get into like the full pegging experience. Then if you've worked up to it over a couple of weeks, a couple months, like, I think you're going to know if you feel comfortable doing it or not by then. And you're not just like doing it next weekend, right? But you're still enjoying the process. Like, it's not just like, all right, you got to wait 8 business weeks before I touch your prostate. Like, you have more options than just doing nothing between now and then. And it gives you an opportunity to sort of feel the water, see how it feels for you too. If that brings on any power exchange type of feelings, or if you enjoy it or not, because like you might not like pegging either. That might not be your thing, and that's also totally valid. As far as the guilt goes, I think somebody else in the chat was like pretty succinct about it. Like, don't feel guilt about helping somebody experience something that they say they want and that they are enjoying and that they've demonstrated a capacity to give consent to. I would say guilt and shame are very tricky things to work through. I have a couple of videos where I've talked about dealing with guilt and shame. You can look up like the words guilt and shame on my YouTube channel. You can probably find them on there relatively easily. But I would look for that. And mostly the main things when dealing with guilt and shame are like looking at how does this stick within my values? And assuming that you're somebody who watches my content, you likely are somebody who has the value of like doing things within a framework of consent and clear consent and doing things that make your partner happy, that they enjoy. So instead of listening to sort of the internal feeling of, ooh, I shouldn't be doing this because some reason, listening to the fact that you are doing things in alignment with your values, and then being around people that like this community, if you have communities in real life, Discord chat, whatever you have around you that are supportive, that share those values, being in community with people that share your values, that can basically show you and tell you that what you're doing is okay. And then also just like slowly working up to doing the thing, and then like seeing that your like life doesn't implode and you don't get like excommunicated by important people to your life by doing the thing that you are doing that's within your values. And I think just having that exposure over time can definitely like lessen the feeling of guilt and shame. It's a very, very quick summary. There's more details in the videos that I've made about dealing with guilt and shame, but I know that it can be, especially if you're with somebody who's like significantly younger than you, that doesn't have a lot of experience. If I guess maybe this would be helpful. I would think about being the partner to your younger partner that you would have wanted to have as a young person. That's not a perfect barometer because everyone's different, right? And some people are just like, oh, I hate being a virgin, get rid of it, and they don't care at all. Other people would like to have somebody that would take a lot of time and go slowly with them and talk them through it. Personally, for me, I think on average, a good thing to do as a person in an age gap relationship, as the older person, is demonstrate kindness and compassion, go really slowly, take time to educate them, encourage them to explore on their own, and encourage them to be the one to come to you with ideas and, as opposed to like pushing them towards certain things, like allow them to be the one to come up with ideas and like tell you what their desires are and encourage them to cultivate that independently and not in a way that, facilitates them being like dependent on you because you're like their first sexual partner. Oh, so Reddit has told me that red flags should not go up. Oh dear God, what is Reddit? Now I'm worried. Now I'm curious what Reddit this came from. So Reddit has told me that red flags should not go up when someone requests CNC, so consensual non-consent, from a partner they've only dated for a week. And to suggest things could go wrong is me projecting my inadequacies. Okay. Okay. I mean, I'm trying to think if there's any possible angle from which like that, like their response would have some merit. I think in general, our community philosophy that, avoiding kink shaming people, like don't yuck other people's yum, your kink is not my kink. I think those are all like fine rules of thumb. However, I think it is fair to say that for most educated people in kink, if you were to propose consensual non-consent play within a week of knowing someone, that should be a red flag. A red flag is not run away and ghost this person never talk to them again. It's not calling them a predator. And I think maybe people hear the phrase, oh, that raises a red flag, and they think, oh my God, you're calling that person a predator? You're saying they're dangerous? And it's like, no. Red flag does not mean the predator label has been stamped on your forehead. It means, hey, something's going on here. Let's think about it some more. Let's check in on it. Because if you are requesting CNC into a week of a relationship, I would wonder, assuming this is a newer person especially, do you really know what CNC is? Do you have experience doing this thing? What background level of trust with the person you'd want to do this with do you have that you think would make doing that an okay idea? And I think we can obviously say it's not about you being inadequate. I think it's you probably being cautious based off the fact that, like, you're an experienced kinkster and you have seen the ways that this has gone wrong. And this is something that I talk about a lot when I discuss CNC because, CNC is a very broad category of things. I'm assuming what this person, because they're on Reddit, I'm assuming their example of CNC is not my partner making me eat a honeydew melon because I hate honeydew melon. Like, I don't think it's that. I think it's probably I want my boyfriend to do a break-in scene where he rips off all my clothing with a knife and then forces me to take a cold shower to wash off the evidence. It's probably one of those things, which, if you find somebody that's into the same kinks as you and you suddenly have the opportunity to do it, you're going to leap at it and be like, hell yeah, let's do it tomorrow. That does not mean doing it tomorrow is actually a good idea. Oh, Lord, have mercy on my soul. The way that people on the internet talk about just CNC is fine. Can we please... Internet, please, can we just for a moment have a normal average level of, caution maybe? Because I feel like there's this polarization happening, not to be a principled centrist, but there is kind of this polarization happening where, earlier today, I was on freaking Twitter for 5 seconds because I was like, oh, I should link to my live stream. It's going to happen later today. And the first thing I see is somebody reposting a TikTok with 500 likes that got almost 2 million views. The person putting it on Twitter got 2 million views, harassing somebody on TikTok for daring to talk about a consensual edge placing they did with a partner that they enjoyed. And this person being essentially, oh my God, a man beat up a woman, they're doing gendered violence, this is destructive feminism, the usual routine, right? And I'm like, this has almost nobody saw this. This account has under 200 followers. I feel so bad for this person because they're such a tiny account and they got put on blast 2 million people on TikTok or on Twitter for daring to have a consensual edge play scene that got the exact outcome that they wanted to have. How dare they? And I just got, we have that on one end where somebody cannot consent to anything that looks dangerous. If it looks bad to somebody else, if it seems like it should be dangerous, if it has a visual effect that people disagree with, or heaven forbid you are a heterosexual doing heterosexual things, it's not allowed on the internet. But meanwhile, other side, you also have people that are don't kink shame me because I want my new boyfriend to waterboard me in my second date. Can we be somewhere in the middle, between those two things? Where I think it's fine to interrogate the heterosexual dynamics and talk about the ways that living in a sexist society influences people's sexual proclivities. I think that's an interesting analysis that a 20-year-old on Twitter is not meaningfully contributing to. And I think that, talking about kink shaming and edge play is important. Somebody wanting to be waterboarded on their second date when they just made a FetLife account 2 months ago is also something that's maybe we could analyze that a little bit. Jesus Christ. Oh my God, was it on a vanilla? I'm losing my mind. This was on a vanilla subreddit. Oh my fucking God. Yeah, I was about to say, I'm like, if this is from like r/like BDSM community or something, I mean, I haven't really been on there in a long time, but if that was like the main place it was coming from, good Lord. Yeah. Honestly, doesn't surprise me. Wait, did I miss something? Um, oh my God, it was a cop. It was a cop asking, oh my fuck. No, okay, just don't. Okay. You can say this is going too far. But I think if you're going to do any level of BDSM with a law enforcement officer, you need to be extremely careful. Extremely careful. I think it's a non-starter. I would not play with somebody that was in law enforcement, in the military, like firefighters. Okay. Any kind of law enforcement, army, security guard. No, sorry. Not going there, not doing it. Not happening. There's been one too many cases of BDSM communities being shut down, specifically because of law enforcement. And I don't want to, like, I don't think this would be likely, but, like, I wouldn't feel great if I was the person bringing a cop around to, like, BDSM events and then, like, you know, they use the information they got, you know, from going to parties to try to shut down a local BDSM event. Like, just no, not today, not in this day and age, not happening. No. Oh, thank you for suggesting Sensate Focus for me last stream, Evie. It wasn't the main thing that helped me, but it was really nice and relaxing to engage in. Oh, good. Well, it doesn't have to be the one thing that helps by any means, but I think it can be relaxing and it can be educational. I'm glad that was helpful for you. Waterboarding, better be a CIA agent and not someone who read about it once and said, yeah, I can do that. I mean, I don't think anybody should really be doing waterboarding, probably. I don't know. I've been to events where people do waterboarding. I watch other people do it. I learned how to do waterboarding by somebody in the community who was an enhanced interrogation specialist in Iraq and Afghanistan, and you know, had the shrapnel to prove it. So I've learned about it in about as legitimate of as a capacity as you could be. But I do wonder how many people that say they're doing waterboarding are like actually doing waterboarding. Like, what are the chances that people that, like, you know, because it's, you know, especially in FetLife and things like that with a lot of edge play, you know, if you're looking at stuff from big production studios where they're doing, like, you know, they're tying somebody up in, you know, in heavy bondage and then like tossing them into a swimming pool with like a, you know, cement brick, you know, around their torso or something. I don't know. This is an actual example. I'm just making some really extreme edgy shit up. Like, there's always invisible stuff going on in the background that you don't see as a viewer that like makes that thing safer. And I'm like, how many people are like presenting the idea that they're doing waterboarding when they're like not actually really doing like enhanced interrogation technique like waterboarding, right? I don't know. I think that's definitely something that I don't feel mentally great about using a torture method that was used to like actually kill people in Iraq and Afghanistan that were seemingly for the most part innocent people. But, you know, I don't engage in that kink, so, you know, that's just my 2 cents. Oh, God. Okay. Waterboarding and it's just spraying them with a hose. I mean, it's waterboarding, but you're squirting with a squirt gun. I mean, yeah. I don't know. Oh, thank you, Kat, for becoming a member. Now you have access to all of our adorable emotes in the chat. Listen, I think, yes, part of it is also being angled a certain way. We're not going to go over how to do waterboarding in this live stream right now. I wouldn't even encourage you to research it, honestly. This is one of those kinks I would not even, if you absolutely want to do it, if you have a CAA kink, an interrogation kink, you know, okay, but for the average kinkster, there's like 15 other kinks before that you could probably do that would be just as satisfying. I get that. BDSM roleplay versions of things are often quite different from the actual thing, so IDK, if it's like confusion of the term, that's what I would want to know. Because is it like choking, where people say they're doing like choking, but first of all, you're not really doing choking, you're actually strangling somebody, and actually, sometimes you're not really strangling them. A lot of vanilla people that say they're into choking, what they're actually into is like doing this, and they just like having a hand on their throat as like a touch reminder thing. Like they don't actually put any pressure anywhere. They just are like hand on throat, the same way they do like hand on cheek, you know? Or it's like they're cuddling. It's like they're cuddling, the hand is cuddling the neck. Which, like, if that is what the average vanilla person thinks is choking, thank fucking God, because they're not risking brain injuries, you know? Force feeding your sub insure until they puke is not popular for some reason. I did have a partner who once bought a force feeding tube from a medical supply store. And I don't know if they ever ended up using it or not, because I was like, absolutely the fuck not. I am not doing that. But there are some people who go, you know what? I'm already ordering a bunch of needles from the medical supply store. What other shit have they got on here? And then they go browsing and then they find some real wacky shit. And basically my take on it is, do you know how to put a feeding tube down somebody's throat? I'm assuming you can actually injure somebody if you do that correctly, or do that incorrectly. So maybe I'm not going to be the guinea pig for you putting a tube down somebody's throat. It's a throat snuggle. Mm-hmm. I kind of hope it's just a gentle hand hug on one's neck is what most people do. Exactly. But yeah, I was inundated with, how dare you say a woman can't know what she wants if she thinks she can handle whatever to go for. How about we don't take vanilla person's opinions about literally anything related to BDSM whatsoever? I think we should just do that. I think if the complexity of your thought is a thought terminating cliche about like, listen to women, I think you should probably not be part of the conversation. Like, if you're just like, well, but we're supposed to believe women and respect women, so therefore I'm not supposed to think or do or say or suggest literally anything else. Jesus. Lord in heaven. Also having it's interesting. It censored it on there, but it's fine. It's okay. It's fine there. Okay, whatever. Also having serious collaring talks with Miss now. Ooh, exciting. We are looking at an eternity bracelet, mainly to discourage me from slamming my hands on my arcade stick in anger when playing fighting games. Listen, if you can have a tool that is multi-purpose, I think that is fantastic. I highly recommend that. A bracelet is great. It's also a lot more discreet than a collar for just day-to-day life stuff. I've never worn a bracelet before. I have worn an anklet. I've also worn an actual like collar, but those are definitely a popular design. I would say if you're getting something from the Eternity Collars website, I don't know if maybe they've changed their design, but the one thing I remember about Ring of Steel versus Eternity Collars, at least at the time when I bought mine, the Eternity Collars, I don't know what it's called. They have like the internal screw that can be screwed all the way in and out. And so it makes it easy to lose and fall out. And we actually had to use Loctite on my anklet to keep the screw from randomly, like, eventually working its way in and out or, like, getting loose. Whereas the Ring of Steel no longer makes collars, unfortunately. Their design was that the screw was always, like, partially inside of the hinge. So there wasn't ever a way for it to fall out because it was literally just, like, part of the collar. At least I think that's how it was designed. It's been a while since I've worn one, so I don't remember exactly. But I think that was the difference, and that made it a lot more secure. But nothing a little Loctite can't fix. Either way, I'm sure there's other places now that make a million different, bracelet designs if that's your thing. Throat Snuggle makes it sound so cozy. I mean, isn't that what it really is? I think honestly, if you're not into it for the pressure sensation of it, of like, you're not into like the lightheadedness or like the physiological part of choking, like I think the reason why people like, having hands around their throat is because it is like a nice, like relaxing reassuring thing for your nervous system. If you trust the person, it's like, oh, they're on this really super vulnerable part of my body, and they're like physically reassuring me of their presence. Like, that sounds weird, but I genuinely think a lot of people are into it because of the, like, you know, it's like, you know, getting a hug around a really vulnerable part of your body. And of course, you know, if it's somebody that you trust and you like and it's an intimate moment, like, why wouldn't that feel nice, you know? Trade-offs. Oh, we got two back to back. I'm gonna try to get to these as quick as I can. Trade-offs of leather restraints versus rope. I think leather seems. Oh, sorry, my stream's cutting this off. Leather seems easy to set up and manage, but rope is more versatile. Thinking about my femdom session. There's definitely a ton of trade-offs. I think if. And then we got one from Julie that says, my last relationship was vanilla, but no, I have BDSM experience. Vanilla, again, would be totally fine for me, I think. Or am I lying to myself? You know, that's a great question. I will definitely get to that one, Julie, to answer Psycho Salad's question. So I like, if it's somebody you don't know very well and it's your first time playing with them, I really like leather cuffs because they're designed to distribute the pressure around your wrists in a way that is like much less likely to cause nerve damage and will like fit relatively snugly while also being secure, and they are easier to manage. I know I saw at least one person, I wasn't sure if it was you or not, say that they did not like the smell of leather. I love the smell of leather. It's one of the things as a vegan that this is one of my cancelable opinions, I think. I like the smell of leather. I like leather goods. I'm not like a medical person at all. I hate like clean metal, like tangy, not my thing at all. I really like warm leather, soft, fuzzy, you know, that like, I like, you know, plush cabin, you know, with like dim lighting and like dark colors. Like, that's definitely my vibe. So I really like leather. But if you don't like leather, you don't like the smell of it, biothane is a great alternative. Biothane. Yeah, biothane. Biothane is a great alternative. It's not going to have a leather smell at all. It's a little bit softer than some of the other non-leather alternatives out there. Very sturdy, waterproof, and you can get leather cuffs and restraints made from biothane on like Etsy for relatively cheap. So it's mostly for the utility, easy on, easy off, relatively standard sizing, so you don't have to worry too much if you're like an average size person about a cuff fitting you. It's also relatively easy to size one, just like you can even use a measuring tape and a pinch. You don't necessarily have to have a seamstress's tape to get like a rough estimate of your wrist size. Rope is definitely more versatile. However, like much more can go wrong with rope, especially like, you know, most people are not going to get nerve injuries from a single column tie around the wrist, but you know, rope is going to take more to manage. You can definitely tie it too tight or too loose. And yeah, unless I'm tying with somebody that like is a rope top that like does rope and bondage really regularly, I am not necessarily going to be like leaping to do rope with them during like a first experience. I think that cuffs are probably what I would start with there for sure. But you know, as you get comfortable, as you get more into building a relationship with them, and maybe you get more experience of like learning what rope looks like and maybe taking some classes, then I think rope could definitely be something you introduce into your relationship, because yeah, ultimately rope is going to be a lot more versatile. Another thing too people don't think about, especially before they use rope, is especially if you're getting like cheaper rope because you don't know if you like it or not yet, is really common to get skin irritation from rope. People have allergic reactions to like jute batching oil, which is what's used in just general jute rope that you can get from most supply stores for cheaper, because jute is not made for like human skin contact, so it has this really like nasty stuff in it that a lot of people can get contact dermatitis as a reaction to, or people with hemp rope, people can get allergic reactions to that as well. And then nylon rope or like synthetic fibers, if they're used really quickly against the skin, like, you know, somebody's like running a rope over your skin, that can cause like an uncomfortable burning sensation for some people that they don't enjoy. So usually cuffs are also just like more comfortable, and if you know, have a lot of allergies or hay fever or something, you like maybe don't want to start with a natural fiber just until you've had exposure to it elsewhere. Leather related, but not exactly kink. What's the difference between PU leather and other leathers, particularly Cabrio leather? Can't find any info about it, save ladders used in shoes and bags and jackets. You know, I don't know. I'm not a leather worker. I'm not the person to ask. I know some of the differences between the like garment leather, PU leather, like Latigo leather, things like that. I can kind of tell you a little bit of the differences. PU leather, like polyurethane, is like, it's the really, really cheap faux leather that tends to scratch off, whereas biothane, apple leather, cactus leather tend to be a lot more robust and are not going to have like the flaky, like plastic quality that, you're going to get from a PU leather. All right, don't spam the chat. That's rule number 2. If you spam the chat over and over again trying to get your question answered, I will not answer it. I will just simply move on. If you would like to make sure I answer your question, the worst thing you can do is spam the chat. The best thing you can do is use a chat right here. Use a super chat, use a Streamlabs chat, and then I'll read it. But if you spam the chat over and over again, I will never get to your question. Because we do not encourage bad behavior in this audience. All right, I'm going to get to the other previous super chat that we had. All right, see you around. Okay, let's get to the last super chat. It was from Julie. My last relationship was vanilla, but I know I have some BDSM experience. Vanilla, again, would be totally fine for me, I think. Or am I lying to myself, It is really difficult to know for sure whether or not, you would be content in a relationship that didn't have kink in it or not. I think sometimes people assume that, if they're into BDSM, that means they have to have it in all their relationships, so they wouldn't be happy, which is not necessarily the case. A lot of people, like anything else in life, they can take it or leave it. And, they might be really happy in, the right BDSM relationship, but sometimes it's a choice of, okay, I would be happiest with my ideal BDSM relationship, but I would be happier with a good vanilla relationship over a middling kink relationship. Whereas some people are they need to have kink in their life so much that they would choose virtually any kink relationship over any vanilla one, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't say that you would necessarily know until you try. If it was me and I was on the fence about do I need all my relationships to be kinky or not, I would probably try to find people that are at least open to exploring kink, even if they're not necessarily kinky. So if later down the line, if the connection felt good, if we wanted to try to introduce kink, that would be a possibility. But I wouldn't necessarily say that you're lying to yourself. I think a lot of people can be ambivalent, I think gives the wrong connotation, but are ambivalent about their proclivity for kink or not. The vast majority of people who participate in kink on any level at any time only do so very occasionally as a special treat or an anniversary thing. All the studies about participation in BDSM or interest in kink show that while a lot of people have kinky fantasies, the majority of people have at least one time fantasized about a kink or BDSM or multi-partnered sex activity or something like that. While that is common, very few people ever act on it, and very, very few people do it regularly as a routine part of their relationships or sex life. So it's more common than not for you to be the kind of person that can sometimes have kink and enjoy that, and also not necessarily need to have it in any relationship. Yeah. Leather worker here. PU breaks down over time. Vegetable tan leather is what you want. It gets more supple over time. Yeah. Don't ever get anything from PU leather. I would say if you don't know what PU leather is, imagine anything that you can buy that's made out of leather from Amazon or Alibaba or Wish or wherever it is people are buying. Shein, probably Shein too. Any of those websites. If you're buying something that's made from leather, it's probably PU leather, which is not actually made from an animal product at all. It's polyurethane. So, or something like that. Yes, you're very welcome, Julie. Hopefully that was helpful for you. Boom, ba doo, 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 doo. Okay. All right. I'm going to go get to some other questions here. Thank you all so much. I can't believe we've already been streaming for an hour. My goodness. Time flies when you are having fun, doesn't it? Okay. Where were we in the chat? There's birds chirping outside of my window really loudly. It's that time of year where we get all the migratory birds, I think. There's a huge flock of crows that hangs out here in the summertime. I recently remembered. Yeah, Reddit does have a lot of really bad takes, honestly. Reddit can be great, and it can also be one of the worst platforms. It's very extreme. I feel Twitter is consistently bad. Instagram is like consistently mediocre, and Reddit can either be fantastic or terrible. I know I've wanted my dom to go much further, stricter, harder, etc. than she does, but then that posting clarity hits and I feel it was just right. Yeah, I mean, if with a good dom, they're going to know you sometimes better than you know yourself about like, okay, you know, I could brush up against your limits here. I could really push you, but I know based on educated logic that I shouldn't actually do that right now. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, and the other thing about doing something with a cop too when they want to do CNC is like, you know, the off-sided statistic, which is what is it, like 40% of, you know, cops or something. There's like some ridiculous number. I don't know if this is like actually accurate or not. I don't know if there's been any follow-up studies that show similar numbers, but like a worryingly large number of cops perpetuate domestic violence, like a very, very high number. So yeah, I'd be worried about CNC simply becoming NC in that situation, especially after such a short amount of time of dating. Oh, sorry. Was it too close to the microphone when I slurped the water? I do it very quietly. ASMR water drinking. Yeah, it's 40%. I don't know if that's actually, that feels like such a high number that like I'm worried that like it's like, can that actually be real? Can that be real? I don't know. Reddit is insane. They told me I was being abused by the person I was playing with because they were enforcing the punishment that I brought up. That is why Reddit is such a ridiculous place. Because on the one hand, you'll get people that are like, so this person wants their, like, this cop wants to choke with their girlfriend on a first date and do, like, a rape roleplay scene, and suggesting that could be a red flag as kink shaming, but then also be like, actually, your partner doing what you wanted to have happen to you that you asked for specifically is abuse. Like, and like a long-term, otherwise healthy relationship in which no cops are involved. Just take everything on the whole website with a massive grain of salt, actually. Yeah, plus what are you gonna do? Like, this is the other part too, is like, okay, let's say something goes wrong with your cop boyfriend. All right, cop girlfriend, you know what? But let's just say it's probably a cop boyfriend. If something goes wrong with your cop boyfriend, what are you gonna do? Call their best friends at the police station and tell them that their you know, Officer Johnny put hands on you? Well, they know that because of water cooler talk that you agreed to do crazy sexual BDSM shit on like your third date after a week of knowing them. So, are they going to take your report seriously? Probably not. Yeah. According to the national hotline on DV, the percentage is like 20 to 40% of that stuff. Yeah. I think it's actually 40% admit to it, if I remember right. Oh my God. If it's 40% admit to it, we are like, do not even, and listen, I've had bad experiences with the cops. Every single male police officer I have ever met has been a massive piece of shit and has perpetuated domestic violence against the women in their lives, or have otherwise just been like surly pieces of garbage who are not fun people to be around. But I try not to let my anecdotal experience of the people I know in law enforcement, like, you know, color things compared to what the stats say, but the stats say disturbing things at least match up with my reality, which is 50% of cops are abusers and the remaining 50% are surly pieces of shit who like don't respect anybody and expect to be waited on hand and foot. Mm-hmm. Doing CNC with a cop on a third date is fine, but a T-type agreeing to add on an extra 0 to my 10 days of denial is too much. Yeah. They can't, sorry, not allowed. Not allowed, can't do it. I think also being skeptical of a cop girlfriend would be fine, but I don't know if there's any studies showing, specifically what female officers are likely to do versus men. I don't know. Diversity in the workforce. I mean, who knows? Why not have any female cops in like 2 years? They may all be banned from being in law enforcement for all we know. All right, moving on to earlier in the chat, answering some more questions. Dorian asked, how do I find a partner who is into kink and more dominant as a guy who's new into the scene and single? Okay, so you're a guy, you're looking for a dominant partner. That was a great time for me to have hiccups. Okay, hopefully that's it. I swear to God, I only get hiccups when I'm streaming, and I don't know why that is. I basically never hiccup in day-to-day life. Okay, so finding a more dominant person as a guy, I actually got an advertisement for a dating app today. And the internet is very confused about it. Like knows I'm a 30-year-old woman, and it's like it either sends me like mommy stuff or like I don't even know, honestly. It's very confused. It's like, you're the age of the women who are into these kinds of things. And I'm like, okay. What's the app? I think I saved it. I started with a C. It was like a female-led relationship app. I put it in like my watch list. I don't know how to get to that on the Play Store. No, I don't want. Oh, I took a screenshot of it. Here, let's look at my screenshots. Because I'm curious if anyone here has used it. It's really hard to tell what dating apps, because like all of them, even the mainstream ones, have like pretty shitty reviews. So it's hard to tell if they're actually like decent or not. Alrighty. Screenshots. Oh, here we go. That took a minute. I think it's... Oh god, I don't know how to pronounce this. It's Chipper, I think. Here, I'll put the name of it in the... Chipper. I'm not sure. That's the name of it. I'm putting it in the chat. You guys can... It's CHYRPE. And it was labeled as like Tinder for doms and subs. I don't know if that's good or not, but apparently at least somebody out there is trying to cultivate an FLR dating app. But the best way to meet people in the community, especially dominant-oriented people, is to go to events in person. Go to munches, go to social events, go to discussion groups. If you happen to live in an area that has events for female dominance or dominant people specifically, where you can go and like be of service and hang out and meet people, those are probably going to be your best option. And I would look out for those events on places like FetLife. You can also, depending where you live, find them on places like Forbidden Tickets or Bloom. I have videos where I've talked about like how to find BDSM and like kinky dating advice. So I'm probably just going to leave it at that. But the best thing to do is usually to meet people in person. I'm personally about like 50-50 on where I've met partners. Like about half I've met in person, about half I've met on dating apps. So like, you know, I mean, I'm not looking, you know, specifically for like a female relationship. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt. I'm also not a male submissive, so take that with a grain of salt. But in my experience, you know, I think especially if you are, I just think you're going to have more luck probably meeting people in person. I think that's usually the way to go. Man, I wish there was a specific app for male dom seeking like-minded subs, but it'd be overrun with weirdos in 0 seconds flat. Yeah, unfortunately, I think an app like that would very quickly end up getting overrun by the worst kinds of people who would be inclined to use such an app, unfortunately. All right, next question. Likelihood of that person fully understanding the risks and emotional impacts of CNC, especially with people you don't necessarily have a good trusting bond with, feels incredibly low. Yes, that is a big part of the risk being taken on there. Hey guys, here's Dave. He's a cop. Just trust him. Yeah, I mean that's kind of the his kind of the vibe there. I think there's a very small percentage of people who actually do it in reference to waterboarding. Also, the fact you do have a safe word makes a completely different experience. Oh, yes, that's also very true. I concentrate right now to something else like the stream right in the background, but all I hear from the stream is waterboarding. Oh, yeah. Sorry. That happens sometimes. I'm generally curious if meeting unspoken for female doms locally is even viable unless you're in a huge metro area like NYC, LA, or Chicago. I mean, I think it is. Like, there's lots of femdom events like in Portland, Seattle. I mean, those are still metro areas to be sure. I think obviously if you're in rural Podunk, South Dakota, you're going to have a way harder time than somebody in LA. And you know, hey, if you live in a rural area with a population of a couple thousand people, including the cows, your best bet is going to be go to the nearest local big city. But I know, like, even if you're talking about like Boise, you know, all over California, if you're talking about, you know, even Utah too, like there are definitely places to find female dominance. But even in big cities, they are, especially in America, they are comparatively rare compared to male doms. If you're in Europe, if you're in the UK, your experience is going to be different. But in the United States and America, it's a lot more difficult to find female dominance just in general, even outside of a major metro area. And even inside of one, it can be a lot more difficult. But, you know, I can't make the femdoms appear. I'm sorry. I can only tell you the best way to find them is to, like, become a member of the community, be helpful, go to the kinds of events that femdoms are the most likely to go to. Unless you are willing to have a long-distance relationship or pay for online services to, you know, have a paid relationship with a femdom online, like that's, you know, going to be your best bet. I think America is probably one of the best places to do BDSM. And I think this is the reason I think this is not because like America is like big and special and like superior over Europe. But from my experience of like the people I've talked to who are in Europe, there's some places in Europe where there's a lot of kink and BDSM activities and there's a good community there. And there's a lot of places where there's not really an active community at all. And there's like big gaps between the two. Like my understanding is there's not necessarily a huge BDSM community in France, even though there is quite a large one in the UK, and there's quite a large one in Germany as well. And in Netherlands, huge community. Comparatively to the size of the country, lots of people in the Netherlands are kinky. But for some reason, just like skipping a jump away in France, very, very comparatively few events, to my knowledge. From like people that have been in this chat, other people that have, you know, been around France and tried to do kink there, that it's just harder to find events. So it's a lot more all over the place, I would say. And my experience going to events in Europe is that it's very closely tied in a lot of places to like local drinking and club culture. And so if you want to go to a BDSM party that's like a dedicated BDSM event where there's not open substance use, people are not getting drunk, and there's a big focus on education as well, and like a community, you're going to get that a lot more of the times in America compared to in Europe, where a lot more of the experience is, you know, weekend party club event where there's not necessarily an undergirding of, you know, non-sexual social events or educational events to the same extent. If you're looking for a femdom in the Philly or Baltimore area, I have a friend who's a pro dom, but I can give you contact info for her. Oh yeah, I've also like Philadelphia is also like a pretty good place to do kink from what I've heard as well. I think BDSM is not okay. BDSM as an acronym is not against the law in England. There are lots of places in England where you can openly do BDSM. You know, torture garden parties exist in the UK and they're very open. There's lots of BDSM venues there. There's lots of pro doms who offer their services that are sex work adjacent, that are treated virtually the same as any other type of sex work there. It's not explicitly illegal in the sense that, like, thou cannot do any kind of consensual BDSM in thine marital bed. But it's you know, the law, from what I understand, is just, you know, you cannot consent to grievous bodily harm, which is different than just you cannot consent to, like, a simple assault. That's a different laws and verbiage matter. And technically, that could cause issues, you know, but it is still very openly done in the UK. There's lots of BDSM events that are very open and advertised. It doesn't actually stop there from being a BDSM community in the UK at all. I just imagine huge events in America, and then what you said, just not so big in most other places. Yeah, Netherlands has a lot of good events there, especially if you know, also has the advantage of if you know, both speak English, even if you don't have to speak Dutch necessarily to get by, although it's the, you know, common social, you know, language there amongst friends, right? People are still going to speak Dutch, but you can get by if you speak English in a lot of places. And yeah, the events are huge in America. Like, I just went to a big convention that had, I don't know how many thousand people at it that were registered. It was a lot. It was a lot of people. And here, you know, a small event is probably like 10 to 20 people, and a big event can easily be a couple hundred, even just on like a random busy weekend. Yeah, and the size of the space too. All right, I'm glad we all agree that throat intubation is best done by a medical professional. Yeah, yeah. Unironically, as someone who never got choking, this has been enlightening and adorable. I'm glad I could explain choking in a way that made some sense outside of the maybe more standard explanations. Publix is great. I love Publix. I miss having a Publix. That was like one of the highlights of my childhood. Living in the Southeast was getting to shop at Publix. I loved it. They had like a really cute like dinosaur mascot. Don't have that up here. We don't have any grocery stores with cute mascots. We've got fucking New Seasons and I don't even know what other do we have any like cute grocery stores? Trader Joe's does not have a mascot. I don't think. Do they? They could. I do. I have a BDSM scene playlist available on my channel for music. I haven't updated it in a long time, but it is technically on there. Mm-hmm. Oh, no worries. Yeah, no, I stream on Fridays at 6 p.m. That is my usual time. I was thinking about using restraining or maybe restraints to the bed. I was thinking about using restraining to the bed of a sub in my novel in a spaceship, but they should just have ropes and bed sheets as an option. How should I include that tying to the bed? Oh, I'm very confused by that sentence. Write a novel set in a spaceship. Their options for bed restraints are ropes and bed sheets. How should I include that tying to the bed? I don't ever use under the bed restraints, so you should probably ask someone else. My guess of how that would probably be done in the most popular way is you have restraints on each corner, like tied to the foot of the bed. Like you have a bed frame, right? Tied to the feet of the bed frame. You have like one rope here that's been like locked off to the foot, and then that connects to like a wrist, and then the other side goes to the other wrist, and the other side goes to the ankle, the other side goes to the ankle, right? You like 4 points. And then you tie off doing that, either with the bottom facing up or facing down, depending on what your pleasure is. But I don't ever play with under the bed restraints. So that's good. That probably, if I wanted to get a picture of what that would look like, I would just Google under the bed restraints, and then I would see what that looks like, and then find a way to describe that using rope, because your readers are not going to know what a certain kind of knot is or what most kink terminology is. So you probably don't have to really explain that in a lot of detail per se. I don't know if people ever really use the bed sheets themselves as a form of restraint. I don't. I think that would probably be left out, I would imagine. All right, next question. Is there a word in general for things that are forced, like using leather or steel on somebody who doesn't like it, like forced sterilization? That's what CNC is. If you're compelling somebody to do something that you have their consent to do to them, but that they don't otherwise like, and that they're going to act like they don't like, generally speaking, I think that could probably fall under the category of consensual non-consent. But yeah, it depends on what you negotiate for, ultimately. Yeah, it was really sad to get a harness ball gag and it was PU leather. Oh, especially with somebody that's going to have a lot of like saliva exposure and stuff that's going to fall apart so quickly. It's really disappointing. Love it when they try to call it vegan leather. Like, come on, we know it's just plastic. And there are vegan leather alternatives, like I talked about with biothane or apple leather or cactus leather. There are legitimately vegan leathers that are oftentimes made out of upcycled materials that are like cast off waste from production of other things that are like much sturdier and higher quality and feel nice. But unfortunately, the term vegan leather has been tainted by the attempted to rebrand, PU leather as not plastic, but vegan leather. Yeah. It's the only context in which people like tolerate veganism as like a word or a label on something is when it's vegan leather for like a handbag or something like that. Oh, pillowcases can be used for a quick arm restraint. Oh, interesting. I could see how that would work if it was like a long enough pillowcase, because it means you'd kind of like fold it over, kind of twist it up a little bit. You could do a little, yeah, I could picture that. Okay, next question. Doing pretty good. Had a good stream so far. By the way, if you guys have not asked your question yet, I recommend you do it soon, because historically, if you wait until later in the stream to ask your question, it's going to be much less likely that I get to answer it. Just so you know, fair warning, unless you want to use a super chat. Are there any studies about neurodivergency in BDSM? Because I feel like they correlate a lot. At the dungeons, we joke that half of us have undiagnosed ADHD. I mean, undiagnosed ADHD is certainly one thing. I don't have any official studies like published in a scientific paper, but everyone that I know of, every community, almost globally, there is a large crossover between kink and neurodivergence. A lot of people are in the community are neurodivergent, either, ADHD, they, are autistic, they, have some other kind of neurodivergence going on. It's very, very, very common. Not sure why that is. I could speculate about why. But I think a lot of people enjoy the structure that BDSM provides, the, just clear communication of consent and boundaries, the sensory seeking aspect of it too, the higher level of stimulation. There's definitely a running theory that I have that a lot of the people that are attracted to BDSM who have ADHD, depending on what side of the slash they're on, it's the clear communication, rules and structure and expectations. having somebody help you be accountable, essentially always having somebody that you can like body double with, all that stuff. And also getting to play at a higher level of intensity that maybe is more rewarding for somebody that, essentially, has, and maybe this isn't the right way of phrasing it, but, for a person who maybe has a atypical relationship to like dopamine, BDSM helps maybe fill in some of those dopamine brain gaps. I don't know if that's a scientifically accurate way of describing it, but that's the theory I've bounced around with people before for, why there's such an appeal for people with ADHD. But yeah, there's definitely a correlation there. I think, I don't know. I would love to see what social scientists or people who specialize like in ADHD research would think about that correlation, but it doesn't shock me at all that it's there for sure. There actually have been a lot of studies on this, the really opening ones. Oh, well, they don't gatekeep them then. Put the names of the studies in the chat. I've never seen anything that's like a study on the correlation between ADHD and an interest in BDSM. But I would love to know what they are. I have ADHD and autism. This is accurate. For me, with ADHD, the appeal is explicit consent. I can ask someone if they're interested in something and be more open about other things. Oh, yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, that's also one of the reasons why, BDSM and abuse is so problematic is unfortunately, because we have so many people in our community that are neurodivergent or have like mental health things going on or things like that. It's also a community that tends to be more susceptible to toxic relationships as a result of that. I have ADHD and I love the structure it gives me. Seems ADHD and autism often go hand in hand. There's definitely comorbidity between autism and ADHD for sure. Don't know exactly, couldn't give you any numbers on that, but that's certainly something I have heard. There's a comorbidity, as they say. I'm vegan, but I'd be cool buying a plastic substitute, but I'm not sure the plastic is more environmentally friendly to outweigh the durability issues and animal harm. Yeah, it's not great. If you want to buy something that's vegan alternative, you can get something that's going to last way more. That's made out of like high quality PVC or rubber, silicone. There's other leather alternatives I talked about. There's definitely options there that are vegan, that are not just like cheapy plastic that's going to fall apart after using it 2.5 times. Did you just will yourself not to hiccup? Yes, I have such complete control over my own brain that I willed myself not to hiccup. Yeah, I've ascended to a higher level of consciousness where I can will my subconscious behavior into being consciously controlled. No, what I was doing to get a handle on my hiccuping is I actually just paused and I did some really deep like diaphragmatic breathing because like hiccuping is caused by your diaphragm spasming, right? So I did some like really like deep slow diaphragmatic breathing to kind of like resync with my diaphragm. So if that counts as willing myself not to hiccup with my ultimate brain control powers, then yes, that is exactly what I did. I found it actually worked to be very effective for stopping hiccuping, unless they're like really, really strong hiccups. I was looking at deer flockers today and was sad to see color choices are pretty limited due to the difficulties in dyeing it. Oh, really? For deer leather? I guess I haven't looked at deer leather flockers that often. Now I'm curious. Now I'm gonna go look. Because I guess I just don't know what color I would want them to be. Because I've definitely seen black, red, brown, purple. I think I've seen white. I've seen blue. Yeah, the white. I've seen there's a tie-dye one I just saw. Yellow, light blue. Maybe it's harder to source dyed deer leather, because I know that like the supply for deer leather can be hard to find sometimes. Like it's not always super consistent depending on how they source it. I've heard that from some leather makers before, but I haven't heard that before, that it's difficult to dye. I know you're way less likely to find like moose, harder to find more colors in, because you're not farming moose for leather typically. So if you're finding it, it's usually from, some kind of legal kill or like a roadkill recovery, something like that. A much smaller supply there. I did. I domed the hiccups into submission. Exactly. I've never met a cop that didn't immediately piss me off. Well, yep. They need more trauma-informed training mandatory. Yes, agreed. I don't actually really feel anxious from streaming. I sometimes feel anxious getting ready to stream because I'm worried I'm going to forget something. But then when I'm actually streaming, especially the Friday streams, I'm just like, I'm in flow mode. And I look and it's been 20 minutes and I'm like, oh, what? Like I just fully go into it. I usually don't feel super anxious other than, I'm thinking about what I'm saying carefully maybe. But usually I'm not super anxious. The internet's very confused about me. I get ads in Spanish. I know about 5 words. And I get ads for period products and pregnancy products. I'm a single cis man. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Yeah, I get all of that. They just are like, you seem like you're in the demographic of somebody who would want these ads. And it's like, nope, but thanks for trying. I also get ads for like corporate like bookkeeping software. And I'm like, why do you think I own a company with 500 employees? Like, what's happening here? Yeah. Like the app that was specifically for platonic cuddling? Oh, I don't remember that at all. Was that a thing? I definitely know that there's like groups on FatLife and places you can go to where they're like platonic cuddle hangout meetup groups, which sound really fun. I think that would be really good for people as an alternative to, maybe more sexually forward BDSM events or things that are more structured. I think that could be really good because we all know, all the studies are saying, all the headlines are saying people are touch starved, people are looking for more intimate connection. They're not getting it. And, I think it's nice that people could have that. I've heard that Australia is also one of the bigger ones. Yes, I've heard that too. I've never been to Australia. I'm not sure, but there's definitely a lot of people in Australia who do BDSM. Bandita treat. Yeah, we could do that. We could do a little Bandita treat break. Yeah, you'd love it. It's because I know people are gonna ask. I'll show you guys the. These are her favorite treats. I don't know. There we go. They're Buddy Softies, and they're soft little gingerbread. Man, I don't know if it's gonna. I think with the. Yeah, you guys probably gonna be able to see it with the focus settings I currently have set up for the camera. But they're little gingerbread dudes. They're not really gingerbread. They're just shaped that way. And she loves these. These are great. All right. Bambita. Oh, free feet. Whatever, I don't care. Yeah, come here, honey. Come here. Oh, you're too close to the camera. Let's see if I can get you. Not my feet, get her on camera. Come here. Or maybe you could just give it to you while you're sitting. We can do that too. Come here. Come on. Do. Oh, there we go. Good girl. Yeah. Boop. She is now munching and crunching. If I can get that moved over. Yeah, she's like right there. Yeah. Look at you, honey. You want a little treat. Yeah, it was good. She's like, what have I done to deserve such fortune? Then we got a little itchy. What are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? Love her. She's so cute. Now she's staring at me because she knows the treat bag's over here. I never give her more than one at a time, just because she's so little. She got a whole one that time. She got a great deal. Normally I give her like a quarter of one at a time. Oh, Field was full of E&M and swingers, which is not what I'm looking for at this stage of life. Oh, yeah. If you're not non-monogamous, I would not recommend Field because you can find people like technically that are monogamous and kinky on there, but the vast majority of people that are on there are non-monogamous. That's the primary clientele. But if you're both kinky and non-monogamous, it's probably the best app if you want that combination of both things. Now we're sprightly and awake. Look at us. Oh, sweet baby. She is very little. Tiny doggo. All right, looking for another question. Where are some good places to find comfortable gear? I have a lot of sensory issues, and I've been looking at pegging harnesses, but they all look super scratchy and too thick. A lot of pegging questions today. I know that there are strap-on harnesses that are designed to be like underwear. That. Again, don't have any personal experience there. Can't say if they're good quality or not. But I imagine those ones, if they're made from a smooth material, would probably be more comfortable than something that is like a cheaper leather. But I'm not sure exactly if that would fall into the grounds of what would be comfortable for your sensory issues. I think that they're not as secure as typical gear would be just because, they don't have the same kind of straps and things on there. Let me look something up actually, because I do remember... just like I randomly saw this. Let me see. Generally speaking, here, I'll just put some links to these like websites. You can go check them out. So did I see this? Oh, yes, I did. Okay. I want to put some links to some of my favorite sex toy stores that I'm pretty sure will have higher quality like strap-on stuff. Oh, here it is, harnesses. Oh, yeah. There's one that's like a boxer style. There's like some thigh strap-ons. There's ones that like are padded. Yeah. There's all kinds of ones that are like panty style ones. Yeah. I mean, theoretically, you could have on a layer of clothing like underneath the strap, right? And that would be a different experience. But you could wear it in a way to where your skin is not directly touching the strap material either. And then the other place I'm going to link to, can browse through there as well. Hopefully that'll steer in the right direction and maybe some options. I don't know if anyone in the chat has enough experience to offer a specific harness suggestion. But usually the more expensive something is, the more likely it is to be comfortable, generally as a rule. But yeah. Miss uses a harness like that and she loves it. She is ready for crime. She doesn't even know how to commit a crime because everything she does is perfect and beautiful and wonderful and she never does anything wrong. It is 7:30. So we got about half an hour left. Morning. I don't know why I'm like waggling my eyebrows about that, but just so you know, like what's going on with this like one piece of hair? It's like not like correctly. Okay, there we go. Big if you stay in the east and west of the U.S. I feel like the south and the north aren't as kinky. No, there's lots of kink stuff. Chicago area, Great Lakes region, tons of kink stuff. Number of kink conventions in Texas and Florida and the southeast. I would say culturally in the southeast, because it tends to be more conservative and more Christian, it's definitely less open. And if you're rural and then you're in the south, it can be a lot harder to find stuff. But there's definitely big events out there in the south for sure. Like DomCon has a big event in New Orleans. There's all kinds of events. Florida, Georgia, Texas too. So yeah, it depends on where in the south for sure, and where in the north and the northeast. But yeah. When I was doing a breathplay class, my friends presented talking about not doing edgier play with people you wouldn't trust in your house. Oh, that's a good rule of thumb. Yeah, if you wouldn't trust them to like house sit for you, maybe don't do edge play with them, or you wouldn't trust them to be in your home. You know, don't do edge play with them. I think that's a good rule of thumb. I like that. Do you have any opinions on the use of AI in BDSM? I don't use AI as I'm low-key terrified of it, so I don't know much about it, but I saw Dom Sub Living's video on it and it piqued my curiosity. Oh, I don't know what video they did on AI and BDSM. I'm generally like against like generative AI. Like if it's AI that's like, I'm going to make a composite photo by stealing a bunch of other people's art without credit or paying them, and also causing massive amounts of energy consumption to make a cute little drawing. I'm generally not pro AI for that reason. Less so, like I think chatbots are probably better. It's hard because AI is becoming increasingly difficult to avoid. Like if you use any kind of video or editing software, most of the most common commercial ones that most people have invested a lot of time and money into now by default either include some kind of AI assisted editing processes or, you know, generative AI options like within their content. Like the editing software I use now has like AI generated music in their music library, which I will not use as long as I know it's AI. Also, none of it like sounds particularly good anyways, and you somehow have to fucking pay for it anyhow. So what the fuck? The only thing I found AI to be particularly good for that's not really kink related is like it can be good for like upscaling things or automating some like editing processes that are not really creative but are like, oh, you have to click this button and click this and click this, and it's like a long sequence of a chain of events essentially that you have to do. But generally speaking, I'm not very pro using AI for BDSM. I just think I don't trust any of the websites that use it. I don't trust any of the, like, I'm just going to assume all that data, all that personal information is being scraped, and I just don't see it ever being used as a positive, and I'm very skeptical of it. I think Sunny Megatron did something where she, like, trained an AI chatbot for herself, and I was like, girl, I don't know about that. Happy for you, but not my thing. I just don't trust it. I don't think AI... no, not my thing. Sorry. Oh, and there is like Grammarly, I guess that would be like an AI assisted thing. I don't really use that for like, you know, I'm not asking it to like write paragraphs for me, but sometimes it's good for like rephrasing stuff to make like a sentence less awkward, or like it catches things that maybe a standard spell check wouldn't, like, or, you know, repeated words or things like that. And that I think can be helpful for people. But I cannot imagine like having it write like a whole article or a whole paragraph or something. Like it really should just be like fancy spell check, you know, with maybe some more suggestions. Plus it gets stuff wrong all the time, or it makes suggestions that aren't actually helpful. Like, you know, it'll want to replace like important with like, you know, significant, for example. And it's like, why would I do that? You know? How do I go about asking my partner for things I want regarding kink or smexy times? I guess in 2008, and we're on MySpace. I get in my own way, and I get really shy and can't verbalize it. Any tips on how to overcome this? By the way, I just think that the word smexy reminds me of Smosh, like 2007, and I like it. It's cute to see the word again. I like it. It's way better than some of the other euphemisms for sex we have to use online. So I'm very much in the same boat. I find it very difficult if I'm in a vulnerable state, if somebody asks me, like, tell me what you want. Like, describe what you want to have happen. I'm like, I don't know, do whatever you want to me. Like, my brain just shuts off completely. I'm really bad at that. It's not my thing at all. But the workarounds that I have found that do work for my brain is describing things ahead of time over text. I find it much easier to write things down, and that may or may not be the case for you, but if you have struggle with verbalizing things, instead of trying to force yourself to verbalize them, I think a good first step is to use alternative means of communication. And I think writing things down is a great way to do that. Sending people text messages, writing a letter, using a whiteboard in the moment instead of directly communicating things. You could literally have a conversation where you are face to face with each other and your partner is talking to you and you are texting them. You could even send voice notes back and forth. Just find ways to like make it more comfortable for you to be able to communicate what you would like to be able to communicate. Now, if you want to work on being able to verbally communicate more easily, I think the best way to do that is with exposure and time and slowly building things up. If your partner suddenly dumps it on you that they want you to explain something to them verbally when you're like mid-act, that's probably going to be a lot more difficult than like, I don't know, making eye contact while you're doing it. Making eye contact while you do it is going to be way harder than like them looking away from you and you like saying it into your pillow or like whispering it to your stuffed animal or something. Like, that seems really silly, and I know that could be like more embarrassing to do, but if you have trouble directly saying it to your partner, like, don't say it directly to your partner. Like, talk through a door, like be on opposite sides of a door. Whisper it to your stuffy, say it into a pillow, practice doing that. You could even be like, one of you is standing outside of the shower and one of you is in the shower. Like, find a way to start that verbal communication in a way that feels less intimidating and that you can laugh at and be silly about, because it is kind of silly to like talk through a shower curtain, but like, you find what works, right? And then slowly over time, you hopefully get more confident doing that. You can be more elaborate, you can be more specific, and eventually get to the point doing that enough times, just repeating those like smaller, easier things to where now maybe you like have the door open a crack, or you pull back the shower curtain partially, or you like let your partner lay down on the pillow while you whisper into the pillow. And eventually over time you start saying the things to them directly. But I know it can be really difficult to like say those things. Some people are great at it. Some people are great at verbal communication, don't have any qualms about it, but like some people, there is just a mental block there. And those other techniques can be really helpful. OMG, I have to write my thoughts down. I tend to write letters and texts when I need to communicate to my boyfriend. He isn't a big reader, but needs time to think. So works pretty good for us before we talk. Yeah. I think, if you want to have a preparation before you have a big conversation, like texting things out is great. If it doesn't overwhelm your partner, or if you just want to even like send yourself maybe some like bullet points or things to read. I've definitely been in a position before where I know I'm going to have a big conversation and I don't want to have to be on the spot having an intense, or vulnerable verbal conversation, and I will do bullet points. I will write down exactly what I want to say, and I will try to stick to that as best I can, just to avoid, getting overwhelmed by, the nervousness of it, right? Yeah. And if you wanted to do it in a kinky way, you could also do it with like, some kind of like sensory deprivation, some kind of like isolation situation where, you've got a blindfold on, a hood on, earplugs, mitts, you're like, head to toe up in bondage, and then trying to talk, when you can't really like visually see or enact with your partner. That might actually make you feel more comfortable, because like wearing the hood, having that physical separation, it's sort of like having a podium and you're giving a speech, like you're having that separation between you and the audience, who is your partner, and that might feel more comfortable. Okay, let's do another question. Do you think someone can consider themselves to be a dom/sub without having sexual intimacy? Yes. No part of BDSM has to be sexual. How sexual it is totally up to the individuals involved. Obviously, the greater world stereotypes BDSM as being a sex thing, but it definitely does not have to be a sex thing by any means. What was the strangest thing you learned at your last convention? The strangest thing that I learned at my last convention. I had kind of a weird experience at Kink Fest this year, so I didn't learn as much as maybe I would have otherwise. Didn't get as many weird anecdotes as I might have otherwise. I think probably the weirdest thing that I learned was the presenter sharing the story of how he got a Lego antenna stuck up his urethra, and how apparently if you are sounding somebody and you lose the sounding rod, you can like work it back out of the penis, like by like finding the end of it and then like slowly zhuzhing it back up and out. And I'm like, so many days I'm glad I don't have a penis. This is definitely one of the days I'm glad I do not have a penis. Because that sounds horrifying. I don't like that at all. That sounds like something I would very much not want to have to experience. That was weird. That was a weird thing. The anecdote was weird. I don't think that sounding itself was necessarily weird, but the visual of having to do that is unsettling. You're also so well-spoken while being watched. Thank you. I'm very cognizant of every mistake that I make, and when I misspeak and I basically do a Homer Simpson, like, dough in like the back of my head every time it happens. But you do it for long enough and it ends up being okay. Yes, like toothpaste. Exactly like toothpaste. Like you're getting the end of toothpaste at the end of the tube. Yeah. Kind of crazy. I mean, it's nice to know it doesn't just like suck back up into your bladder. Like that would be a problem, you know? But Jesus Christ. That was probably the weirdest thing. Was there anything else I learned that was like weird? Something maybe from the vendor hall or something? I think that was kind of it. It's hard to beat somebody putting Legos up there inside their penis. I feel like I don't know how you beat that, honestly. Yeah, it's phantom pain. Yeah, I don't even experience the phantom pain. It's just I'm glad that's not something. That must be how like people feel when they realize they're never going to have to go through like the pain of giving birth, because they like don't. They like, they don't have a womb. So thank God they can never get pregnant. They can never experience that horror. Jesus, I don't know if that's the best option, Twixie. I'm trying to provide aftercare to a friend going through a psychotic break due to edibles and listening to Evie mentioning sounding. Well, good luck to your friend. I hope they're okay. That sounds scary. Yeah, talk about your nuts and bolts. Mm-hmm. I don't know. People stick off. I've had more horrifying sounding stories than that. I've heard... Every other time I've heard about sounding, it's been through somebody causing a horrific penile injury vis-a-vis sounding. But I think in order to not scare off all of the penis havers in my audience currently watching, I will not be listing any of those. But just know that God, a lot of things can go wrong with sounding, and don't wear a bike. Don't wear a bike. Don't do that either. Don't use a bike. Don't ride a bike while using sounding rods is my advice. Excuse me. They used to have Lorica vegan leather, but I haven't been able to find it again. I had old stock in my parents' garage that survived 10 years. Oh, I don't even know what that is. Lorica vegan leather. I'm assuming that maybe it's also a plastic thing if it was 10 years ago, but who knows? I saw something about an AI dominant, and I'm curious too. Maybe an option for me to explore DS dynamics without being with someone other than my boyfriend. Also nervous about AI in general, though. Yeah, I just, if you're asking my opinion about it, I don't get good vibes from it generally. I would not reveal my intimate fantasies to any AI that wasn't run locally. Yeah, I think that's a good rule of thumb. I don't recommend AI for anything sexual or personal because it 100% stores it and likely sells that data. Yeah, exactly. Plus, also, a lot of the commercial AI, like, if you get to anything sexual at all, they, like, instantly shut it down and, like, redirect the conversation or basically say, like, I can't talk about that. Like, it's very censored in a lot of places. So, I don't even necessarily think you necessarily get the experience you wanted to have. All right, see you, Twixie. Good luck. Yeah, new fear unlocked. The cute doggo is 13. She's 13 years old. Bandit getting a nap after the tree is the cutest thing. I know. And she got a nice walk earlier today. She had a great time. It was perfect weather. Got to smell lots of plants. There was a bunny outside that she got very close to. Had a great day today, honestly. Anyone know, this is very random, anyone know any sweet slice of life romance anime I could watch this weekend? I know it's not BDSM, but I'd like to know what others see is worthwhile. Specifically romance anime is like a sweet slice of life. I do really like that genre. That is probably one of my favorite ones. I feel like a lot of the ones that are the most popular, though, end up being really fucking sad at the same time, or they end up not being romantic at all. Probably my favorite one that's like a romance one is Spice and Wolf, which there's a new version of it on Netflix recently. I think, is that, what would you call that? Is Spice and Wolf Slice of Life? Is that, I mean, they're just going on like very low stakes adventures, being merchants around, like, it's not like, there's no magic, there's no like, pitched army battles or anything as far as I know. But yeah, that's cute. I like that one. I don't know if any of the other ones, that are out there. I don't watch a ton of anime these days. Yes. When you said dear leather, isn't it like dear leader? Yeah. Uh-oh. My Marxism is showing. Oh, House Husband is really cute. I like that one. Yeah, House Husband is good. I think it's on Netflix. That one's cute. Monthly Girls, Nozaki-kun is a great comedy romance. That sounds cute. Nana, if you view it as a budding lesbian relationship. Yeah, lots of good options out there. I got a really cute video of my dog this morning having a dream, and her little paws going like, and she was woofing. It was very adorable. She only really barks in her dreams. It's kind of sad. Her little voice, only in her dreams. Also, do it yourself, laid back camp, and super cub or super club. Are there any fandoms that focus on a financial coaching style? Oh, like I'll help you manage your budget? Oh, I don't know. That would be great though. I would love that. That's a good spin on it. Like, all right, yes, I am going to take your credit card, but I'm only going to use it to show you how to increase your credit score most efficiently. How to get the best credit card with the best points back system. I know, I was thinking of Planet, but that's one of the ones that's very, very sad. Spice of Wolf is not Slice of Life? Okay, but then the person immediately before me said it was, so what? I don't know. The podcast Shoujo Sunday gives good recs. Good to know. Good to know. Puppy hoods are a lot more common than kitten hoods. I do know of at least one place that does make like leather kitten hoods, but they're definitely not as common. Random thought, would it be ethical to seek demi partners for the assurance your appearance won't be judged? I don't necessarily think so. I don't necessarily know if there's even enough demisexual people out there to make that a big deal or not. I don't think it's a big deal. I wouldn't be worried about it, but that's just me. All right. Stay focused on my face. Camera, thank you. All right. 5-minute warning, approximately. We have 5 minutes left in the stream. Ask your questions now or forever. Hold your peace. Finally, some good fucking femdom. Yeah, exactly. Ethical femdom. It's important. All right, I'm gonna scroll through some more questions here. There was someone on Reddit, I think, who deleted her account, who had a chat bot dedicated to humiliating her. It was definitely an interesting idea, but my big issue would be the privacy. Oh yeah, the privacy stuff is always concerning. I think that could be like a fun idea, but the privacy stuff is too much. I love shower talk. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, just don't do the rolling toothpaste trick. Yeah, don't do that one. Yeah. What's the funniest mistake you've ever seen someone make? Oh, like in a scene? I don't know if any of them have ever been like funny. Or just in life in general, I guess. I don't know. I can't think of any. I can't think of any like funny mistakes. I've like heard people like misspeak giving presentations in a way that was funny. Where it was like, oh, Freudian slip moment, but that's like, you know, like somebody accidentally saying something that comes off as like being bratty to their dom during a class, and they go, oh wait, no, I didn't mean it. And then like the dominant partner like goes over and corrects them in like a funny way. Yeah, thanks for being fun and cute for us. I try my best. I don't know if you're talking to me or my dog. Hopefully it applies to both. That's right, Biggie, invest in your 401k. Exactly. So my fiance, she has ADHD and depression. She also leans towards submissive. Anyway, due to med, she doesn't have a big libido anymore. What can I do to help her, and or any doming tips would be great if that's okay. That's a massive, so dealing with both ADHD and a depressive episode, there could be a lot of things going on there. I would definitely want to be looped into her care team, assuming that she has therapy. And to be entirely honest, I probably would not want to try to solve any issues through BDSM unless and until there was a bigger support network through like a some kind of psychiatric help, medication, psychology help, you know, therapy, something like that. Doing something else besides just using BDSM. There are there's a series, but there's one specific book that deals with this, which is from Raven Caldera, and I believe it's Kneeling in Spear. No, it's not Kneeling in Spear. That's the physical disability one. Let me try to find it. There's Mastering Mind. Why can't I? I'm looking for one of the. I'm finding all the ones that are not the one I'm looking for. Broken Toys, Submissives with Mental Illness, and Neurological Dysfunction. And I believe is Raven's partner talks in at least one of their books, and possibly in this one, about their own experience with depression and submission, but they were already in a quite high level power exchange relationship and like incorporated this in there. They were not trying to like build DS as like a tool for, you know, helping with depression or things like that. But I would probably read this book if you want some advice on maybe what some things you could do. But I think sort of your question in general is a little bit outside the scope of what I would feel comfortable answering, unfortunately. But I think that's a good question to have in general. I think it's good that you want to help your partner, but I think the most important thing is going to be like professional help in that circumstance. I don't want to be seen as spamming the chat. Are there any FinDoms that focus on financial coaching? I think I already answered that. I'm pretty sure I just said no. Like not really that I know of, but it would be a fun idea. I think that would be cool. I would promote that. Don't know of anyone who does it. I mean, the sky's the limit. If you want to be a FinDom that does financial coaching, like, you know, be the change you want to see in the world. You can definitely do that if you want to. Alrighty, I'm going to do maybe one more question. Let's see what we get here. Don't know. It's going to be a shock to me and everyone, which one I end up landing on as the last question here. Do-do-do. All right, there I was in the chat. I mean, FinDommy's not for everybody. It's definitely not everybody's kink, and that's okay. Doom. Oh, shoot. I just lost a bunch of the chat. No, I don't see any of the older questions. All right. If I didn't answer your question earlier, put it in again now, because YouTube just like eliminated all the chat from the first like hour and a half of the stream. So I definitely know that I've missed a lot of questions, and I don't know which ones I didn't get to or not. Had issues in the past with a partner, now ex with ADHD, who constantly wanted to chase the dopamine by wanting new experiences, but relied on me to find those. Was that fair? LOL. I mean, it doesn't sound like it was fair. I think there is a way to do that that would be fair. Like, if you were the one who was setting the pace on, like, you know, I will help you find new experiences, but sort of here's my boundary and how much energy I'm willing to expend to do that. And if they were able to respect that and just be grateful for you facilitating them finding new experiences, that would be one thing. But if they're like, you know, chasing dopamine and then leaning on you without proper gratitude or with proper boundary setting, then that's sort of inherently not fair, right? You know, obviously, if you are somebody with ADHD, you know, doing the executive function things to be able to do research and find options is going to be overwhelming for a lot of people. But just because it's overwhelming doesn't mean that you get to like offload it freely onto a partner and then like be resentful when they don't like do all the work for you. There's definitely a balancing act there where I think there's a way to do that in a fair way. Like, I'm somebody who really likes helping partners in that, you know, functionality. I like helping them research things, find things, give them options for stuff that I know would be, you know, overwhelming for them to research for themselves. But if I can do that and make their life easier, then I feel satisfied. But it's never in the context of like, now you're expected to do this and you have to do this and you have to do it for me all the time. And like, yeah, no, that would definitely make me feel negative for sure. All right. On that note, I think that's all the time we have for today, y'all. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and Miss Bandita. We really appreciated it. Hope you all have a fantastic weekend. If you would like to, again, I do recommend the virtual conference that is happening this weekend. It is called Thrive. I'm going to go ahead and put the link to it in the chat once again. I am I'm not affiliated with this event. They don't know me. I don't teach for them. This is a free convention. I don't get anything out of it. I'm just promoting it because I think it's really awesome that there is an online conference that promotes the intersection of BDSM and mental well-being and mental health issues and neurodivergence and all that fun stuff. Yeah, they ended up wanting to be poly to find those new experiences. I mean, we have not talked enough about how there are definitely polyamorous people who are ADHD and use new relationship energy as a dopamine fix for their ADHD, sometimes without realizing it, and in a way that I think can be very destructive. That is definitely a thing that can happen. And also be healthy too, but also can be unhealthy. Multiple things are possible. Anyways, thank you all again so much for watching. Hopefully I will see you all again soon. New video this weekend, and I will talk to you all again very soon. Bye! Hi, Bandita. Your little eyes? I know, look at the eye! Look at you! Oh, yeah. Why are you looking groupy? Why you look groupy, ma'am? I see that little tail going.